Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner Ryan. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today I am joined by Amanda Guerassio, who is the founder of Studio Guerassio here in the Central Texas area, and they are a brand strategist and design firm. Excited to be jumping in, talking about a number of different things when it comes to business here, but the path to entrepreneurship, the challenges, everything that kind of comes along with that. So excited to dive into a few things. First and foremost, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sitting down with me today.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
of course, of course. If we could just like start off with just a very, high level background, give us kind of the 10,000 foot view of who you are and tell us about the business. Tell us about what y'all do as a brand strategy and design firm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's see if I can make this not 10 minutes long. I've been interested in art and creative stuff for as long as I can remember, like way back, even when I was a kid. I was like illustrating my own books and like doing those color and posters and all that kind of thing. And then computers came onto the scene when I was in middle school, and I thought those were like home computers, and I thought those were the coolest thing. And then I realized I could do both at once. I could do like art stuff on the computer, and that kind of blew my mind open. I have a high school art teacher to thank for that. He introduced me to Photoshop, which was mind blowing. And so when it came time to go to college, I decided to major in graphic design. So that's actually what I got my degree in. I'm one of those rare people that is actually using the degree they got. And after college, I made my way down to the Austin area. That's where I'm still today. And I had intended to get a job in-house somewhere at an agency, something like that. I had never even like thought of owning my own business or freelancing or anything like that. But I had a boyfriend at the time who was a freelance web developer. And he's like, well, why don't you just, take on some freelance gigs on the side while you're job hunting, just to have some income. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try this out. Long story short, I was hooked. I loved the freedom and flexibility of, not having a commute, of setting my own schedule, of kind of being able to work with clients from anywhere. Cause this was like, the birth of the internet business, boom. I got a lot of my first clients off of Craigslist. So yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And I really haven't looked back since. I was freelancing just as a generalist for a long time. And then about 8 years ago, I kind of, got real serious about it, formulated my business, did the LLC, all that kind of thing, and started specializing in branding because that's what I'd learned I really like to do. I'm good at it, and it really helps my clients the most. So these days, what I do is I help clients on the strategy side and the design side. So I help them figure out what it is they even want this new business to be, or if they're rebranding, help them get back in alignment with their vision for it, with what they want to stand for, who they want to work with, how they're different, like all those kind of things. And then we use that to steer the design direction for their visuals. So it always starts with the logo suite and the brand guidelines, and then depending on their business, it builds out from there depending on what they need. So that is what I do currently.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to dive into kind of the business itself a little bit more. But before we do that, I always like to just set the stage for the viewers. We've got the opportunity to chat with businesses of so many different sizes, journeys along, the growth cycle in business, all of that sort of thing. So I always like to just ask, like, generally speaking, what does your current ownership structure look like? And what I mean by this is more specifically are you a sole founder? Do you have a business partner at this point in time? Have you ever had to take on outside investors, anything like that to help grow? Like, what does that look like for you specifically?
No, I am a sole founder. I have 100% ownership. I'm an LLC. I do occasionally hire contractors to help with things that aren't my forte. So like SEO, copywriting, that kind of stuff that I don't really do. I do not have any full-time employees. It's still me doing my own thing. And no, I have never had outside investment. So
Very cool. Well, this next question is gonna be super fun then. I always like to ask kind of what is your current role within the business? So you're founder, you're a brand strategist, you've got like all these different things, but just like generally when you look at the business itself, how many different hats do you have to wear in the business today?
all of them. Yeah, so I do the actual work. So the, client onboarding and offboarding, the actual strategy work, the actual design work, all the admin work, all the sales and marketing work, all the invoicing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wear all the hats.
Of the hats, which one do you are you? Let me ask this a fun way. Which one are you most excited to wear, and which one is going to be like the first one you take off and give to somebody else as soon as you have the freedom to do so?
Yes. This is actually a story. I tried having a virtual assistant for a while and it was not a good fit. So that will be one thing down the road. But I am always most excited to wear the strategy and design hats. Like that's where like I don't really want to be a manager of too many people. Like I don't want to just be directing other people all day. I want to still be in the work because that's what I love. So I love that. But as far as like things getting off my plate, yeah, the admin stuff and the accounting stuff and maybe even like the marketing stuff. Those are not in that order, probably would be what I get off my plate. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. All right, so let's walk into kind of what makes your business so special, the different things that you do. First and foremost, I like to ask the question of like, who primarily does your business serve? And when we ask that question, I like to kind of frame it in the context of if I'm sitting out there and I'm watching this video later on, or I'm listening to the audio of this, how do I know that I'd be a really good fit to come work with you? Or at very least, I might know somebody who would be a good fit to come work for you, come work
Yes.
with you, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, you can work for me too, but yeah, so I work with serial entrepreneurs and multi-passionate empire builders. And what I mean by that is these are people that have been in the weeds of business already. They're experienced in business. So they're either, several years in and thinking of rebranding, or they're doing, they've got their fingers in lots of pies and are opening up other additional businesses. So, they have that experience. They know the importance of branding. They're just looking for the right partner to help them with it. They are tech savvy, they're progressive, they're decisive, they're open to coaching and expert help. And they're not too uptight. So my niche is really personality based too, other than that, have some experience in business factor. I'm pretty industry agnostic. I work with all sorts of industries. But yeah, it's more about the founder or person that I'm working with.
Very cool. I love that. That is actually quite specific, and it's fun to kind of see there's different ways to look at what your niche market is, and very personality based can be a specific niche. So that's really cool to see that.
I tried niching by industry before, and like I was like, well, which one? Like, there's so many that I like to work with. It ended up being like a list of like 5 or 6 long. I was like, well, that's not really concise or helpful. So yeah.
So I gotta, when you look at, the marketing, branding, kind of just general landscape out there, what does competition look like for you? Is there a lot of competition in the, specific part that you work on, and how do you differentiate yourself? Why do your clients choose to work with you over anybody else that may be out there in the marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, it is a pretty saturated market, design and even branding specifically. I think why people choose me is kind of twofold. One, I am kind of the one-stop shop for both the strategy side and the design side. So a lot of people do one or the other. There's not a whole lot that do both. And even if they do both, it's usually just the logo suite. They can't help with like packaging or a website or something. Whereas I have the experience to help with pretty much anything the business needs once we get that core branding established. So that's one thing. And the second thing is I have a very clear process. It's streamlined, it's organized. I communicate it up front. People seem to really like knowing like how that process is going to flow, that they know when to expect things from me, what the next step is, and that kind of thing. So I think just that kind of structure, people really appreciate. So those are kind
Awesome.
of the two big ones. Plus I'm fun,
Awesome.
but
Well, that's important too. Got to
yeah,
have the fun piece in there.
yeah.
But this kind of leads me into some questions around marketing, and I always love to ask about marketing because it's an area that Many times business owners know is vital and needed in the business, continue to drive new business coming in, but it's maybe not always the easiest one to pick up on, especially if you're,
Yeah.
in business and you don't have a background in marketing, that sort of thing. So I'd like to just ask some questions around it, kind of find out what has been working, what hasn't been working, that sort of thing in different businesses.
Mhm.
What has been your philosophy to marketing? How do you, get out there and connect with these potential customers of yours?
Yeah. So since my niche is personality based, it's really about making connections with people. So a lot of networking, a lot of visibility, things like this, where people can get to know my personality. Um, and then a lot of referrals, that's really, which is great. I regularly ask, past clients, like I check with them, ask how things are going and say, hey, and if you know anybody, send them my way. And that has worked out really well. So it's definitely less about, I've never run ads. I don't really do cold outreach. I've dabbled with that in the past. It just didn't feel good or work really well. Um, I'm on social media. I can't say that that has been really a source of clients so far, but parts of it I like, and it does give me a chance to show off my work. So I'm still on there for that reason, but it's really, really relationship based for the most part.
Excellent. Have you systemized some of that in like your routines, things like that for referrals specifically?
Yeah, so I have like reminders set to like check in with, these people every 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, depending on how quickly their business changes and they might need something new and like, when the last time I checked in with them is and stuff. But yeah, I have that baked in. I always ask for testimonials like right after the project is done too. So then I kind of blast that out to socials and they usually share it. So it's like, yeah, there's some systems baked into that for sure.
That's awesome. I always love to ask about that because it's, I've talked to other businesses that are referral based, but it's, referral based on, well, I remember to ask for referrals sometimes versus having, at least a level of consistency or system in there. So that's absolutely fantastic. And huge note for anyone that is listening, like go back, listen to that again, maybe put some of those processes in referrals, amazing lead generation strategy. Um,
Yeah. And I will say, don't just make it like, hey, do you have any referrals? Like check in with them, see how they're doing, see if there's anything you can help with, send them something that reminded them or reminded you of them. And then ask for the referral. Don't just make it completely one-sided. That's not nice for anybody. So
Yeah, absolutely. The relationship piece is important there. And you had
mhm,
mentioned that it's very, your business is very relationship based, that sort of
mhm.
thing. Do you have any additional kind of tips or strategies for business leaders out there that are more relationship oriented to keep building the relationship even after the transaction being over?
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I will send people things that, if I'm on social media or like reading news articles or see something that just reminds me of them, I will send it their way. Or if I see an opportunity that would be perfect for them, I send it their way. Um, I'm connected with most of my clients on social media, so we'll like each other's posts and comment on stuff like that or celebrate things together. So it's multi-platform. It's just kind of keeping in touch, keeping up with what's going on with them. If I know they have something big coming up, I'll reach out and say, hey, do you need any help with this? They know they can always come back to me. Like once we finish their main brand package, I offer VIP days and half days so that if they have things they need that have come up since we work together, I can help them with that. So it's just about keeping that door open.
Very cool. I absolutely love that. All right, so we've talked, spent a bunch of time focused on the business itself, sharing a few best practices, that sort of thing. But I want to take a step back and talk about your journey.
Mhm,
So was looking for a job, decided to do a little bit of kind of freelance type stuff, got hooked
mhm,
on, this flexibility and freedom that business can create,
mhm.
and just kind of jumped in 2 feet from that standpoint.
Yeah,
Is that kind of a good summary of what you shared?
accurate.
Uh,
Yes.
Excellent. So when you look back on this journey so far, and I'm sure there have been a number of lessons that you've learned along the way, are there any kind of standout either moments or lessons that you've had to learn that has really kind of helped you become the business leader, the business owner that you are today?
Yes. Probably more than we could cover in this episode, but I would say probably the biggest learning curve for me since I didn't have any like business background was the financial side of things. Like I did
Mm.
not have a savings cushion. Um, I did not realize that my taxes would be severely different after my first year freelancing. That first year of doing my taxes after I was freelancing for a full year, I was like, I owe how much now? Like I just had no idea. And eventually learning all this stuff like that. Yeah, like have a separate bank account, like do all those things. Yeah, that was a big learning curve. I'd say the second thing was learning to listen to my inner red flags. Like if something is giving me like this doesn't feel great vibes, that's always right. Like whenever I've ignored that and gone forward with a client, that has been not a good idea. So it's less a problem these days, but like when I was first starting out, definitely that got me into some not fun situations.
Mm. How did you learn to start recognizing those flags earlier on?
It's- yeah, it's a gradual process. I would say it was more like if they tried to argue against my process or my price, like they wanted me to change how I do things because they thought that would make it cheaper or something. That's a big one. Um, and people that just, I don't know, were dismissive of expertise. Like they're like, I know I need a logo, but they don't really like understand why or what goes into it or something like that. It's all about an attitude, and I've kind of learned to recognize that attitude over time. um, but yeah, I had one instance where I was working with a lady, and she was very adamant about a design direction that just didn't make sense for her business, and I was trying to reason with her, like give her design rationale, like why that didn't make sense, and she literally said to me like, I'm not paying for you for that. I'm paying for you to just design what I want. And I was like, okay, not working with her again. um, so yeah, like I said, that is much, much, much less common these days. I've got a pretty good filter going now for that. But yeah, there were some not fun interactions back in the day.
Oh man, I love that. There's definitely something to be said about choosing the clients that you actually enjoy working with,
Yes,
and not
yes,
yeah, just because they could be a really good paying client doesn't mean that they have to be your really good client. They might be a
yeah,
really good fit for somebody else, and there's somebody else that is feels the exact same way for, for their business, and they'd be a great fit for
yeah.
you, that sort of thing. It's kind of cool to see that actually, take place in the real world. Um, so you'd also mentioned, the financial side of things being
Mm,
kind of a learning curve for you.
yeah.
Now a number of years in, are there any kind of main points that you would share to like the audience that maybe was in the spot that you were in, a number of years ago, that you've implemented today or consistent with today, that is just completely given you more control over that? Um, Anything like that that we can kind of give to the audience and say, here's a couple of things that are best practices today from the financial side of things.
Yeah. Number one, if you can have a savings cushion before you go out on your own, like absolutely do that and save up. You'll thank yourself later. Number two, save for taxes. Um, when after that first scary year, I started saving 30% for taxes, and that kind of covered my butt for the next few years. These days I use the profit first system.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever read that book, but that's what I do now. And you kind of put money into different buckets. It's like the digital version, business version of like budgets and little envelopes for different things.
Mhm.
And that's worked out really well for me. So that I would recommend checking out that book. What is it? Michael something. I don't remember what his last name is, but yeah, Profit First is what it's
Yes.
called. So
Yes. I will make sure to link it in the description below, because that's
yeah.
a phenomenal thing. It's the, the discipline, the habits around, how we handle and manage money and all that kind of stuff. Very important. Um, Very cool. No, that those are some excellent things to plug in there. Um, so we've spent a lot of time now talking about the past, about the business today, but I'm curious, where do things go in the future? Where, when you look to the next 3 to 5 years for you and your business, where do you see the business, and where do you see your role within it as you continue to grow and just continue to develop over the next few years?
Yeah. I've been asked this question before, and I feel like my answer is probably pretty boring because I don't have, grand plans to build out like, in-person studio or have a bunch of employees or anything like that. I would like to, bring on some of that help we talked about earlier, like things I'd like to have off my plate. A VA, an accountant, maybe a marketing person. But really, I'm just looking to work with awesome clients. Like that's my main driving goal, like awesome clients and maintain my freedom and flexibility with my schedule. That's like my driving force. So yeah.
D- does there ever come a point when you no longer want to be in the business?
It hasn't come yet. So I don't know. Maybe that might come down the road, but like right now I still really love what I do. Like this has been what I've been doing for 17 years now. So I think if I was going to get sick of it, I'd probably have gotten sick of it by now. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. When you look at anything kind of in business or in kind of just your life in general, what's been your approach to goal setting? How do you look at just setting goals for yourself, and what's kind of that process look like for you?
Yeah. So I do kind of I guess a vision board is the best way to call it at the beginning of every year. And I kind of list out different goals I have for like my personal life, finances, business, like all the different categories. Um, and I try to make sure they're really concrete, not just something like get more clients, but like get, X clients for this package or appear on this number of podcasts in the next 12 months or, something like that that's actually measurable because I found that if it's not measurable, I am, how do you keep track of it? Like, if I hit this goal, like, I don't know. Um, so that's been really big for me. And then the other thing too, depending on what the goal is building in those small habits that get you there.
Mm,
Because I'm definitely the type of person, if I try to tackle something huge all at once, it can kind of be overwhelming and I kind of just freeze. So I find if I break it down into smaller chunks, it's much more manageable. And I know a lot of people are the same way. So I try to build in those small steps, small habits to help me keep making progress, even if it's not a huge jump all at once.
mm. Love those. The consistency is huge. The vision board thing, I feel like it's almost not talked about as much as it should be anymore. I actually just rearranged my office not that long ago, but actually had my vision board up, do that once a year
I have
as
mine right here.
well. Same
Yeah.
things like update it. It's kind of cool to be able to see that and, on a daily basis and be like, that's what we're striving for and can kind of,
Yeah.
check it off as we go, that sort of thing.
And yeah, I will say mine too. I mean, people think the vision board is like magazine things pasted, and it doesn't have to be that. Like I just did mine in Canva, and one is like the pictures, the visuals, and then but I also have like the text version of what those actually like the goals listed out of what those actually represent. I look at that far more often than the pictures, so it doesn't have to be a pretty vision board. It can be like a vision list if you want.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot to be said about how you specifically learn and accomplish tasks and things like that. Not everybody's going to be the same way. So your
Yeah,
vision board is your vision board, whatever works
exactly.
best for you, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah,
well, Amanda, we've covered a ton of ground. And I know we could probably sit here for another, hour and just dig into so many different things, but I do want to
yeah.
be respectful of time. I've got a couple rapid fire questions I love to throw out here. I've got four of them, and then we'll run
Okay.
into kind of the final question that we'll wrap up here on. So top head answers for each of these four. I know we could go deep on a couple of them, but best you can, top head answer for these
Okay.
here. First one, what would be your key to success?
Persistence. Sticking with it, not giving up, consistency, all that tied into one. Yeah.
Excellent. What's one piece of advice you would give to other business owners?
Sit down and get clear on what you want for your business, what you're trying to build with it. That can add such clarity to every other part of your business, I feel. That's the start of brand strategy with me too. We do that, but it's so helpful, really.
Absolutely. What's one book that you're either currently reading or have read most recently?
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I am a huge bookworm, so this is hard. I'd say the one that has left the biggest mark on me so far this year is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Um, it is not a light beach read, it is a deep read. Um, and the 12 rules are really simple when he lists them out, but then he like goes into each one in the chapter and it's like psychology and social, hierarchy and like genetics and like mythology and like all this stuff, and it is just super interesting and like makes complete sense, and it was just a fascinating read. So that would be my one that
That
stands out so far.
that sounds exciting. I have just now put that on my list of what things to read here soon.
Awesome.
All right, final rapid fire question. This is kind of a fun one.
Okay.
When you look at your business, if you had to choose just one area that you could take some magic dust and just sprinkle all over it, and tomorrow you'd wake up and it was, I don't know, 10 times better than it is today, where would you choose to put that magic dust?
Marketing. Easily. Yeah.
Love it. So before we jump into the final question to wrap up our conversation today, for
Mhm.
those that are watching, that are listening to this later on, that want to, learn more about you specifically, that want to connect with you, that want to, get in contact and learn more about the business, where can we encourage them to go for more information?
Yeah, either my website, studioguerassio.com, and I'm sure you'll spell that out in the show notes for everybody, or look me up on LinkedIn. Also Threads, because I'm on Threads now, that's a thing too. So those are the two places I'm spending most of my social media time these days.
I think there's a lot of people spending a lot of time on threads right now,
Mhm.
myself included.
Yeah.
Um, Awesome. I will put all of that in the video description below, along with the book recommendations, things like that, as we go forward. So as soon as we wrap up this conversation, make sure you go check out all of the links in the video below. So as we wrap up, Amanda, always like to end on this final question here, and that is, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh. Um, Honestly, I know this is going to be a weird answer, but the Threads app, like it is just so refreshing right now. And I was on Twitter like back in the day, like before it went downhill. And it kind of reminds me of that, but like better, like just the conversations I'm able to have on there. It feels so different from most of the social media stuff right now. And it's just, I'm really liking it. So that's my answer today.
I love that answer, and I'm with you at 100%. I hope it stays this way
I know, me
as
too.
people continue on it, because it is different. There's a much different feel on it than really anything else I think I've ever been on,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with us. This has been truly phenomenal to just kind of sit down, learn more about your journey, about your business, all the things that you do, and kind of what's on the horizon for you. So thank you so much for taking the time and being here with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was great.